Sacred Tears are a vital resource in Elden Ring. They're the way to level up your Flasks of Tears and upgrade the potency of the flasks, making each chug heal you for more HP, or FP, depending on the flask you choose to use. So here is a guide on how to find all 12 Sacred Tears. That means that there will be spoilers, but I'll start with the earlier areas of the lands between, so you can stop when you think I'm going too far. Not only that, but I'll have timestamps in the description, so you can click off if I mention an area you don't want to hear about. And with that, let's begin. Just south of Limgrave is the Weeping Peninsula. This is meant to be the low-level area of the game, and definitely where you'll want to start out if you're having trouble with Stormveil. The Weeping Peninsula also happens to have 3 churches that contain Sacred Tears. The first of these is the Church of Pilgrimage, which can be found on the middle north side of the Weeping Peninsula, here on a map. Just enter the church and pick up your Sacred Tear. Also on the Weeping Peninsula is the 4th Church of Marika. The religion of Marika seems to have spread out from its core closer to the Erdtree, as evidenced by the naming of these, and the 4th Church is all the way on the outskirts of the Weeping Peninsula. You can find the 4th Church of Marika here on a map, on the far western side of the Weeping Peninsula on the north side. As before, just enter the church and pick up your Sacred Tear. The Callu Baptismal Church is our final destination on the Weeping Peninsula, and the most difficult of the Weeping Peninsula Sacred Tears to get. To find it, you'll have to head into the forest at the center of the Weeping Peninsula, here on a map. To get there, start at the Castle Morn Rampart site of Grace and head west, then north and upwards until you find the Ailing Village. The Ailing Village is filled to the brim with frenzy-inflicted villagers, and the Callu Baptismal Church is filled with frenzy-inflicted rats. Take out the rats, and the Callu Baptismal Church's Sacred Tear is yours for the taking. Heading into Limgrave and closer to the Erdtree, we find the 3rd Church of Marika. As I said, we're closer to the start of Marika's religion. The 3rd Church of Marika can be found just north of Mistwood, and in order to get there, you'll just have to head north from the Waypoint Ruins Cellar site of Grace, where Sorceress Selene and the Mad Pumpkinhead are located, along the path, and then east of Lake Aghil's Bridge. Head past the Artist Shack site of Grace and you'll end up at the church. The church is a vital find, as it not only has a Sacred Tear, but also the Flask of Wondrous Physic, a one-time use customizable flask that recharges every time you rest at a site of Grace. Heading north, we reach Liurnia of the Lakes. Just west of the first site of Grace you'll find here, the lake-facing cliff site of Grace, you'll find the Church of Irith, or here on a map. The Church of Irith houses the Sorcerer Topes, who will sell you sorceries after paying him 10 runes, and hint you the way to enter the Academy of Rhea Lucaria. The Church of Irith also happens to house your 5th Sacred Tear. On the northeast side of Liurnia, on the way to the Grand Lift of Dectus, you'll find the Bellum Church located right here on a map. Here you'll find your 6th Sacred Tear. The 7th Sacred Tear can be a little more annoying to find, but definitely worth the hassle. It's also located on the northeast side of Liurnia, here on a map. In order to get to it, you'll have to wrap around northeast of Bellum Church, then east of the Grand Lift of Dectus, and back south again. On the way, you'll find the Eye of Sauron, or a guard tower that is regularly casting a madness-inflicting spell at the top. Run past this and through the Frenzied Flame Village, then up the cliff. You'll be invaded by Festering Fingerprint Vike. Beyond him is the Church of Inhibition, and finally, the location of another Sacred Tear. The next Sacred Tear will take us into Caelid. To the northeast side of the Swamp of Aeonia, you'll find Celia, Town of Sorcery. If you can solve the puzzle of the town, you'll be able to progress up into the back streets. From here, continue up and south where you'll stumble upon the Church of the Plague, which is located here on the map. That said, you actually don't need to go through Celia to find the Church of the Plague. You can actually come from the backside of Dragon Barrow. Here you'll find your next Sacred Tear. For the next Sacred Tears, we'll need to travel to a much steeper elevation and onto the Altus Plateau. Pretty much directly north of the Altus Highway Junction site of Grace, and further north beyond the Golden Seed you can find along the way, you'll come across the Second Church of Marika and your 9th Sacred Tier. The Second Church of Marika can be found here on the map. The Second Church of Marika isn't the only church you'll be able to find in the Altus Plateau that contains a Sacred Tier. This one is also near the Altus Highway Junction site of Grace, but while technically closer, it'll take you longer to travel to as it's on the cliff near this site of Grace. To get to this one, you'll have to use the warp at the forest-spanning Great Bridge that warps you to the north side of the broken down bridge. From there, travel southeast along the path where you'll eventually be able to reach the Rampart Side Path site of Grace. Head southwest from here and you'll reach the Stormcaller Church and your 10th Sacred Tier. Traveling to an even higher altitude, you'll reach the Mountaintops of the Giants. This would also seem to be where the teachings of Marika began, for the next Sacred Tier can be found up here at the First Church of Marika. To reach it, you'll need to get to the freezing lake at the northeast peak of the map. From here, either fight or skip the fight with Borealis of the Freezing Fog. At the southeast edge of the freezing lake, you'll find your 11th Sacred Tier within the First Church of Marika, located here on the map. We come to the 12th and final Sacred Tier, also found at the Mountaintops of the Giants. This time you'll have to head further south from the First Church of Marika and into the Flame Peak. Once you're close to the church, the Bloody Finger Okina will invade you. He's guarding the Church of Repose and the location of your final Sacred Tier. The Church of Repose can be found here on the map. I hope this guide was helpful to you. We'll be updating our Golden Seed guide to include every Golden Seed, so make sure to check that out, as well as a plethora of other Elden Ring content we have readily available for you and in the works. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.